Hello and welcome to another episode of the Energy Co-ops in the News series. I'm Lauren, and today I'm joined by the Energy Co-op's Executive Director, Divya Desai, and Energy Programs Director, Nora Fulvio, who will be sharing what's going on in PJM, the grid operator in our region. We'll also learn about its importance to the Energy Co-op and our members, as well as the broader implications of its actions on grid reliability, the energy transition, and energy costs. Let's dive in with a quick overview for our viewers who may not be aware. Can you explain what PJM is exactly?
PJM is the grid operator in our region, called a Regional Transmission Organization, or RTO. It encompasses all or parts of 13 states, including Pennsylvania, and is responsible for managing the electricity grid and the wholesale power market in the region. This includes ensuring safety, efficiency, reliability, balancing supply and demand, long-term transmission needs, planning, and running competitive wholesale power markets.
Can you talk a little bit about why the Energy Co-op has been talking about PJM so much lately?
So at the Energy Co-op, we're dedicated to making sure our members understand what's happening in energy markets and in the industry so that they can make sense of what they see on their bills and why their bills might be changing. A large part of the costs incorporated into your electricity bill from your utility and retail supplier come from PJM, specifically the electricity supply, capacity and transmission costs, and ancillary services costs. These costs have been increasing in the last couple of years, meaning consumers are paying more for electricity. The Energy Co-op recently wrote about PJM on our blog to highlight the capacity cost increases hitting our region due to the PJM capacity auction. The first increase ushered in 4 to 7-fold increases in capacity costs beginning in June 2025, above what electricity suppliers had been paying in the previous delivery year. The following auction brought further capacity cost increases, though to a lesser extent. But both auctions set record highs and undeniably signify a system under strain and in need of reform. As we alluded to earlier, PJM plays such a critical role in ensuring energy consumers have reliable access to electricity, and there are dramatically rising concerns over supply-demand shortages and grid reliability. Talking about PJM is necessary to achieve an important part of our mission to keep members informed, so you'll continue to hear from us about developments in PJM.
That brings me to my next question. Can you tell us more about PJM's role in grid reliability?
Sure, I can take that one. As the grid operator, PJM needs to ensure that there is enough electricity generating capacity to meet demand at times of peak load in the year and also maintain a balance of supply and demand at all times. An electric supply shortfall can lead to utilities asking customers to reduce usage or even brownouts and rolling blackouts, the last two posing pretty critical safety and emergency challenges. PJM is responsible for connecting, generating capacity to the grid, and accurately forecasting future demand to make sure that the system remains in balance.
What is the current state of electricity supply and demand in PJM?
According to their recently released winter outlook, PJM maintains that there is adequate electricity supply to meet demand and that there are sufficient resources on the grid to cover demand this winter under expected conditions. However, additional generating capacity and reserve margin continue to shrink, meaning more extreme weather conditions will put greater strain on the system. If this trend persists, we could see a point in the coming years where peak load exceeds electricity supply, which would result in grid failure. Increased electricity demand paired with PJM's inadequate demand forecasting and supply planning and execution has resulted in the projection that demand will eventually outpace supply without sufficient course correction immediately. Earlier this year, PJM itself forecasted that the PJM grid could experience a capacity shortfall as early as the 2026 to 27 delivery year. Much of this is a result of the rapid growth of data centers, with PJM's most recent long-term forecast projecting 32 additional gigawatts of peak load growth from 2024 through 2030, 30 of which are expected to come from data centers. While it could be argued that this is a trend with dramatic consequences for energy demand that might have been hard to predict, data centers aside, the fact is that PJM was already facing shortfall concerns with the demand growth due to electrification, a poorly managed interconnection process, market structures that disincentivize resource diversity, and an aging grid in desperate need of modernization. So when you layer in the AI boom and the astronomical amounts of energy required by data centers, it paints an alarming picture of where we might be in a very short period of time. Importantly, who pays the cost of the transmission build-out needed to meet data center energy needs, and how to address the potential environmental impacts of such vast energy use are still open questions. Bottom line, we need more generation on the grid fast.
Moving on, so what are the critical issues at stake here, and what should PJM be doing to improve the situation?
Fundamentally, the key issues facing the PJM region are reliability and energy costs. On the reliability front, we need more generation resources to come online, and as Nora said, we need that to happen fast. We also need better capacity management to help allocate those resources more effectively. On the cost front, consumers are already paying for supply-demand disparities and grid strain, and are at even more risk for bearing the burden of data center proliferation due to the AI boom. You asked about what PJM can be doing to improve the situation. PJM's Reliability Resource Initiative fast-tracks interconnection for shovel-ready generation projects. This initiative is estimated to bring an estimated 9,300 megawatts online by 2031 through about 51 projects. But almost 80% of these projects are fossil fuel powered. While reliability needs to be a priority, a more reliable grid doesn't need to be at the expense of a clean energy future. PJM should prioritize a more efficient interconnection queue that helps get renewable resources online more effectively. While renewable resources are smaller scale and often have a lower reliability score than some of fossil fuel resources, they can be paired with battery storage to increase reliability and are more distributed, meaning they don't pose that same single point of failure risk that larger fossil fuel generation facilities might pose. Renewable resources are also cheaper and faster to build and hold the promise in the long run of lowering electricity costs for everyone. Another opportunity for improvement is better collaboration with state government. States impact permitting for generation projects, transmission build-outs, and more. They also represent energy consumers in a way that PJM doesn't. Effective collaboration means a streamlined resource development and interconnection process that helps incentivize investment, improve reliability, and manage system and development costs to help mitigate unnecessary costs increases to consumers. There has been a recent push from PJM states to allow for more state representation at PJM. Most of this is due to high energy costs facing the region and the projected supply-demand disparities. While any specific additional mechanisms for state representation are up for debate, states have the ability to impact PJM through the Organization of PJM States, Inc., better known as OPSI, which is a formal organization of public utility commissions from each of the PJM states and the District of Columbia. OPSI affords PJM states a collective policy counterweight to PJM and PJM stakeholder priorities. It's certainly the responsibility of states to leverage OPSI as necessary and appropriate, but PJM can operate independently, even from stakeholder input, and PJM can essentially ignore OPSI if OPSI priorities conflict with PJM priorities. Although it's natural for there to be tension between market and regulatory priorities, PJM market design cannot be ignorant to consumer needs, and PJM has a responsibility to ensure market design is not fundamentally and unnecessarily at the expense of energy affordability. Let's talk about data center energy needs as our last example of how PJM should be improving its efforts. PJM's formal mandate is grid reliability and competitive markets. It's important for PJM to attract resource and infrastructure investment, but frameworks to support market opportunities need to be structured thoughtfully and consider all stakeholders and implications. They shouldn't be developed in order to quickly accommodate opportunities and shouldn't weight certain stakeholders over others. This year, PJM undertook an accelerated stakeholder process called CIFP, Critical Issue Fast Path, to address solutions for large load additions almost entirely due to projected data center load need. Stakeholders rejected all proposals through the CIFP process, including PJM's own proposal, essentially saying that they were inadequate to appropriately address a myriad of stakeholder needs. Despite all proposals being rejected, PJM is likely to push their own or some proposal through to FERC for consideration. We would argue that this prioritizes certain agendas over finding a solution that adequately addresses key stakeholder needs and concerns. This is an issue with gargantuan implications for energy reliability and energy costs, and therefore warrants requisite planning. PJM shouldn't be too quick to solve this issue at the expense of good solution design.
Nora, can you talk a little bit about what the Energy Co-op is doing to promote equitable market design in PJM?
Sure. So since last year, the PJM risk staff has been seeking a multifold increase to the minimum capitalization requirement, or MCR, which is a ticket to enter mechanism requiring PJM members to show a certain level of tangible net worth, tangible assets, or collateral on their financials in order to operate in PJM's markets. The origin of the requirement is to ensure a PJM member's operational viability, to mitigate risk to the market and other market participants. It's PJM's responsibility to mitigate risk to the market and system, and increasing the MCR is one way to do so, since one member's default is carried by the rest of the membership. PJM's proposed increase will almost certainly consolidate the market, which will likely result in reduced competition and increased energy costs, and might even pose a greater strain on grid reliability. The Energy Co-op took an active role in the Risk Management Committee stakeholder process to advocate for a solution that prioritizes equitable opportunity and competition, which considers market participant activity rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. We proposed our own solution package, liaised with many other market participants to refine a solution that met multiple stakeholder needs, engaged with PJM staff and board of directors to help them understand our collective concerns and a path to attaining a solution that supports stakeholder and PJM goals, and helped educate hundreds of PJM members to help them make an informed vote on a final solution.
And to wrap up, can you share the result of the Energy Co-op's involvement in the MCR change and how the Energy Co-op will continue to stay involved in PJM's issues?
Yeah, absolutely. The Energy Co-op was ultimately unsuccessful in getting what we would consider an equitable MCR solution package to pass a vote in the Risk Management Committee. Unfortunately, PJM was pretty unwilling to collaborate with the Energy Co-op on a more equitable solution, and much of the PJM membership is either unaffected by the change or unable to engage meaningfully in the stakeholder process, and consequently deferential to PJM's guidance. PJM's multifold increase passed and will likely make it to FERC for consideration and implementation. The Energy Co-op strongly believes PJM's approach is a failure in their core responsibilities to ensure competitive markets and grid reliability, given the risks their solution poses. We're still exploring options to amend the proposal before it reaches FERC, and similarly, we'll explore opportunities to advocate for a better solution even if it passes at FERC. We gained a lot of experience in navigating the PJM stakeholder process, made a lot of valuable connections that expand and deepen our network and our expertise, and we gained recognition from stakeholders and from PJM staff as an organization that will fight for an equitable, inclusive market, while also supporting competitive markets, grid reliability, and effective risk management. The Energy Co-op will continue to take an active role in the PJM stakeholder process, like engaging more at the sector level and advocating for a more equitable, efficient market that will ultimately benefit all stakeholders and help achieve a reliable and renewable energy future.
Okay, thank you so much again to Nora and Divya. We will catch you all next time on our next episode of In the News.